A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism one letter at a time. Welcome back. A is for Alcoholic, podcast about recovery, alcoholism, friendship. I
don't know. Running, friendship, porridge.
Porridge?
Porridge,
like Goldilocks.
Yeah, like Goldilocks eats
porridge. I like porridge.
Man, that was a salvo across your fucking mouth there, and it just whiffed.
I think it was the lag was what it's tough. I had a thought, and I think so. I have a prediction. I have a thought. I have a prediction. So you know how we talk about in recovery, we talk about, when I started going into the rooms. So I think what's going to happen is people who are new to sobriety and recovery this year, when they talk about it in the past tense, they're going to say, yeah, when I first started getting into the Zooms, that's going to be the thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
that's a good Zoom. Zoom's got good sobriety. It's a good Zoom.
Good Zoom. It's a good Zoom. It's got good sobriety. Seriously, when I first started getting into the Zooms, going into the Zooms, because I was in a Zoom meeting and there were 2 or 3 people who just gotten sober this year and literally had not been inside of an actual meeting.
Yeah.
All of it was done online. And it was just kind of, it's crazy to me, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I guess you do it.
And it's funny that we're thinking about it like we're old salts, like we're veterans of the rooms here. Mm-hmm. Me and you with our fucking not even a decade of sobriety. I've seen some rooms, man, in my 6 years. I've seen the same 5 rooms.
I've seen the same 3 rooms in the small town that I've been in. I mean,
you don't even know, man. I'm an old timer. I used to have to throw away all the vape pods after a meeting. You know what I'm saying?
Right? Sweep up all the vape pods off the ground.
Yeah, bring the gluten-free fucking vegan cookies. You know what I'm saying?
The gluten-free Belvitas.
Yeah. For the meeting, the Belvita. I can't eat Belvitas, man.
Why not?
They give me such bad gas. I don't know what is in that Belvita. I don't know, man. My mom bought some last year when they were here for Christmas, and I was like, 220 calories for 2 of them. I could use that maybe as a light lunch, or I don't know, supplement a couple of snacks. And I was just like, fart machine. It was just gross. It was disgusting.
I'm like a fart machine. Can't nobody work with nobody but me, or however it goes.
The fart machine.
So no Belvitas for you. No snacks on the road. Those will not be in the road trip snack pack.
Nope. Not for me, at least.
For those of you who don't know, Jerry is moving to Arizona, and we'll be leaving shortly in the next few weeks. And we don't know how the podcast is going to go for the last week. We'll figure it out one way or the other.
All right.
Might be some. I mean, there might be some delay or something like that, but we'll figure it out. Yeah. So that's exciting news. I'm glad it's going well. I mean, a move can be very stressful and painful and sad, but I don't think that what I'm hearing from you is that this is kind of.
This one isn't as stressful as the last one. Well, right. the last one was just 5 blocks. We literally moved less than a mile from our old house, and that was really stressful. This one has been we've had so much time to prep, though. I mean, we've been planning on moving since August. Mm-hmm. About more or less is when the idea kind of came through, was in August, and Megan's like, I was like, let's move. And then we've been pretty much planning since August. So far, everything has gone really smoothly. I'm grateful for that. I'm so happy it's gone smoothly. Mm-hmm. And it will be sad. It will be really sad, but it'll be good too, though. Potential, there's potential.
Are there any things in Eugene that you're going to, well, I mean, I guess everything's fucking shut down or locked down or covered in virus, right?
You know what I'm saying? I haven't really done anything in Eugene since March.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna miss this room, and then the other room I sit in, and the same trail I run on every time I run. I'm gonna miss that Amazon trail though. That is a really nice Rexy's trail on Amazon. Yeah, if you ever, any listeners ever live in Eugene or move to Eugene and like to run that Amazon Rexy's trail. 3.5 miles. It's in South Eugene. It's nice. It's a really nice trail. It's cushy. They put like special gravel down under it, underneath the wood chip, so it's like running. It like springs. It's a nice trail. I'll miss that. There'll be a ton of shit I'll miss about Eugene. I'll miss my friends I have here and stuff, but I haven't seen anybody since March. I'll miss poke bowls, getting a poke bowl across the street from the tattoo shop.
Yeah, you don't really mess with too much sushi in Arizona, do you? It's not really
a little bit. My mom's got some secret gems, though. My mom knows some spots, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, because, well, you know, everything is kind of raw fish in the desert's kind of shady, right? I mean,
supposedly. I mean, I'm sure
what I'm saying. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a legit sushi place in, you know, Phoenix somewhere, but you know, gets flown in daily. But yeah, man.
Who knows, man? Who knows? And my dad around here, he'd be like, "Listen, you're right next to the Sea of Cortez. That's only 3 hours away, Jerry. They just imported it up from Mexico, right over the border." That's what my dad would say.
Well, he would know.
There's tuna in the Sea of Cortez, Jerry.
There you go. Got that yellow.
You know that Geronimo traveled up in 18-something to Sea of Cortez, and then it'll just go on to the whole history. I love it, man. My dad's like the History Channel of just southern Arizona. See that mountain range? 20 villagers were killed there by the Chiricahua Indians. You know, some wild shit. I'm like, word.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. I'm glad that the move is much more of a positive, optimistic, exciting, something to look forward to rather than, God, I hope we can fit all this shit into these boxes and get it over there. And
oh, my wife's tripping on that though. She's like, "Is 26 feet going to be enough?" And I'm like, "Yes, I promise you. I assure you. There'll probably be extra room. I assure you." But you know, this is all a matter of time, getting it all done and out, and then figuring out what we're going to do when we get home.
Yeah. So today's letter is W, and I wanted to, I've been thinking about this a lot, and we got this email, and it's a bit of a lengthy email, but I really think that it's important to read it. But I wanted to talk today about the strengths that we have as alcoholics, not only from like the tools that we've gathered in recovery, but maybe even potentially some sort of transferable skills that we have learned in our career as excessive drinkers. And I was thinking to myself that, like, well, what's W? How do I mean, I was trying to fit this in, and I thought, you know, I thought it could be for W is for we alcoholics persevere, but that seemed like kind of a long-winded title. So I thought we could just do W is for W.A.P. W.A.P. We alcoholics persevere.
This is also the only time on our podcast where you're allowed to say "wop" and it's not like racist. That's great. We alcoholics persevere, dude. We definitely find a way. Yeah.
And so it just because this is something that we come to find in ourselves, and we deal with strength, and we've spent I know I have spent so much of my time drinking, dealing with, waking up in a deficit, feeling like I have to overcome something, feeling like there's this challenge in front of me, and it was just a fucking hangover. And then that moment of waking up sober in those first several months of sobriety, of recovery, and going like, oh my God, I feel great. This is amazing. And maybe that was kind of the pink cloud for me, right? Maybe that was my pink cloud.
Yes.
But I got this email, excuse me, and it's a little bit lengthy, but I think it really is important to read it. So it's from, her name is Katie. And dear John and Jerry, you were my God shot yesterday, and I'm writing to say thank you. I have been sober for 12 years and 11 months, and today was almost day one for me. I hear a lot from my fellow alcoholics in meetings that they can't seriously imagine drinking again, that when the thought comes to them, it is a philosophical thought rather than what seems like the sanest and most rational decision. Until this week, I would have said the same thing. I am currently experiencing the fallout from a terrible breakup and the attendant awful words we sometimes use to inflict pain on each other, made all the more painful because my partner was also my partner in recovery, and I didn't want to believe that he would want to inflict damage. Anyhow, I have been working this program double time, saying my fourth step prayer every morning, reading 86 to 88 each morning, reading at least 2 pages from the big book from the start of the book forward each day, and reading the daily reflection. I go to at least 4 meetings each week. Still, on Saturday night, that's a lot. That's a lot of recovery in there.
Bad.
Still, on Saturday night, I had an intense craving to drink. It was so intense, I had a physiological reaction. Time slowed down, my heart, and I got an adrenaline rush. These are the sensations I used to get pre-recovery right before I took the drink that would end my latest dry spell. I have never had those feelings and then not drank. I worked through the craving using the principles we learned in recovery. The next day, the thought came back, but this time I had a clearer image of what it would look like to drink and how good it would feel to forget for a few minutes. Feelings again, but as I was walking on Monday morning, I suddenly had a fully formed thought. I need to go to the post office, and the post office is across the street from the grocery store. I would stop in the grocery store and pick up a bottle of liquor because if I was going to drink, I wasn't going to drink anything of my temporary roommates. This thought was immediately followed by an acknowledgement that to buy the bottle was to decide to drink, and I made that deliberate decision that it would be a relief to just be done with the struggle. I understood that I would not achieve 13 years, and I was okay with that. I pictured going to a meeting and saying I was in my first 30 days and hoped but knew it wasn't a guarantee that I would return to recovery. I was determined to carry out my plan. I figured I had tried every tool I had in the program and it wasn't working, so I may as well take the path back to alcohol. Somewhere in the back of my head, a tiny voice pointed out that what I was experiencing had echoes of Fred's story in the More About Alcoholism chapter of the Big Book. I pondered whether my thoughts were my disease talking. Since I was out walking, I turned on your podcast, which I often listen to in the evening. The episode I happened to have been listening to was G is for Get Better. And within minutes of turning the podcast on, you were talking about how you don't want to test your disease because then you'd have to go through all the shit again. I continue to listen because it's so reassuring to hear honest discussions of recovery and to realize I'm not alone in this. When I got home, I decided to talk honestly, rigorous honesty, rigorous honesty, with my therapist about my plan to buy alcohol, and we spoke and came up with a different plan. I talked to fellow alcoholics about how close I came, and somewhere along the way, the obsession lifted. It felt like a fever that passed, and in its wake, I was an alcoholic willingly in recovery again. I can't say with absolute certainty whether I would have decided to take a different path had I not turned on your podcast yesterday, but I can say I was resolved to drink and that it sounded like the sane and rational thing to do. I can say with certainty that your words were the God shot I needed to turn back to the solution. Thank you both for your honesty and candor about recovery. Meetings are great, and I love going to them, but your podcast invites listeners to actively participate by listening fully and to engage in a different way than a meeting does, which is why it is among the tools in my toolkit. I appreciate the work you do and recommend your podcast to my friends in recovery. Thanks for being there when I needed it most with the words I needed to hear the most, and look forward to continuing to listen to you as we trudge the path. Thanks for bearing with this long email. I don't often send unsolicited emails and never any in which I pour out my alcoholic soul, but I am so grateful that your podcast was there when I was at my jumping off point yesterday. I didn't drink yesterday, and I have made that decision again, just for today, not to drink. With gratitude, Katie.
Yeah.
So we got that a couple weeks ago. So this person is probably going to, all things considered, make it to 13 years. And when I think about like all those moments, those thoughts of like having a drink and how they really are, thankfully, only philosophical in nature, right?
Right. Right.
And like when she, whatever that thing was that came up inside of her, whatever that like feeling of like all the little triggers and all the little cues,
Mm-hmm.
like all just turned on in her body. And I think about that in her mind, like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
rush, the calm and the rush, and everything was getting set in place and ready for a bottle of liquor.
Yeah.
Um, and like I say that, you know, thank you
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you
Yeah.
for not drinking and thank you for the kind words, but like seriously, it takes a lot of fucking strength to just not say, okay, why don't we just go have a drink? I've already like in the email, you know, in her mind, I'm hearing, well, I've already promised myself I'm gonna drink, we always say take it to the final conclusion. Well, this final conclusion included drinking just so I could be done with it and then going back to recovery.
Right.
Like that was the alcoholism was giving her like,
You can
it's
always go
okay.
back.
I know you're in
Mhm.
recovery, but we're just going to do this one time and then you can go back. And I'm like, fuck, dude, that's fucked up. That's dark. That's
Well,
really,
that's not only dark, that's really deceptive. This is a deceptive trick your mind plays on you, you know. We always talk about the addict or the alcoholic mind as a thing separate from what we are. Like they always say, "Oh, my addict or whatever we want to call it is in the parking lot doing push-ups," and I always weirded me out because I was like, "No, that's not separate from me. That is me. I am in the parking lot doing push-ups. I do have the biggest boner for bourbon. I don't know what to do about it. So that's why I'm sitting in this room learning how to deal with it. But I always like we always go back to that voice in the back of the bus. But the bus is the whole metaphor is it's me. It's all me. There's no outside foreign source that fucking makes me do the shit I do. Like I do the shit I want to do. I do the shit I think is right. I do the shit I think will bring me relief. I reason with myself, right? This lady, this person. First of all, I really appreciate the email. When you sent it to me, I like teared up. It like made me emotional because I was like, damn, people actually listen to us sometimes, you know. But and then like we actually affect them. That's what trips me out is like the things I say affect other people. I'm not used to that. But that being said, though, like the bargaining you do with yourself, like the bargaining I do with myself is I can relate to that absolutely. Like I just sit there and go, oh, it'll be okay, dude. Hey, just fucking get it over with. Just get it over with, and then you can go to a meeting and then just start all over again. But there's no guarantee in any of that shit, you know. Like once you're off, right? I mean, that's why you go to those meetings. You know, you don't go to those meetings because you drink once and then you're like, well, I'm done and push away from the table. Nah, man. Like I go to these meetings because once, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like just, well, that was a fine brandy, you know? No, dude. Like I go to these fucking meetings because I can never push away from the table. So who's to guarantee this one drink because everything's gone to shit and there's 1,000 reasons to drink right now. There are so many reasons. There are more reasons now to drink than there were last year this time.
mm-hmm.
But I also know that, like, I don't know, man. Like, I just know there's no one and done with me. And I know it's the cliche, we always say it, but that's my condition. And my condition is that the alcoholic is not in the parking lot doing push-ups. I am in the parking lot doing push-ups, getting ready.
I literally am.
No, you're in front of like a fucking pawn shop, a Dizzy D's Donuts, and like a laundromat just doing dips. There used to be this guy in Tucson that would run around in his like in the smallest tiny satin shorts, and he'd run every day. I'd see him on East Tucson. He was practically naked except for these satin shorts and running shoes, and he was like 70 and ripped. And I imagine that's you in the future. And we would clown his ass. Like we'd be 20 years old and be like, look at that fool. He's in his underwear running all shiny and shit. That guy's probably healthy as fuck. That was like so. That dude's probably still alive.
He's still running. He's still doing races. Dude.
That's my alcoholic, dude. My alcoholic is you and that guy doing on a fucking
I was thinking
on a bus station.
So, I was thinking about this because I had to buy some gloves. I was looking for fingerless gloves to wear, in the wintertime. because it's cold outside. And I found the leather ones that had the little button snap on the back with like the little webbing. I was thinking about getting some of those to run in so I can do just stop anywhere and do push-ups and do dips like anywhere on the street. Just start wearing leather gloves out.
It's gonna be 2021, dude. It's gonna turn into the cyberpunk future we've been waiting for. Fuck it. But
So
back. Yeah. That being said, like, I'm glad this person didn't drink, and I'm glad that this person is really diligent working their program. I mean, this person is like overtime working their program, because I don't even know what's on pages 86 to 8. I have no idea. I'm like, maybe it's a story about Bill W. putting milk in whiskey or something. I don't know. I really don't, because I don't work a great program as far as like the being within the parameters of AA. That's so far how my recovery hasn't needed that yet. And I hope, once again, when it does, I can just go back in the rooms to figure it out, you know? Like when my recovery needs that type of framework to work in, you know, I would hope that the program would be there to help me out with it. But I still use a ton I've learned from the program. But yeah, it's very interesting. It was beyond interesting. I can relate to a lot of that, right? So the old triggers, like you said, the feeling hot, the flush, just those physical, because it's not even a physiological or a psychological, it's physiological as well. Like you feel the trigger, you feel that. I feel it now with shit that doesn't have to do with alcohol, like with pie. I fuck with pie all day, dude. You don't even know, dude.
I had some pie last night.
I've been eating a shitload of pie for the past like 3 days. Gained like 3 pounds in like 3 days, killing it with pie, dude. I got a
pumpkin,
pie from the
pecan.
Pumpkin and pecan. Pecan's my favorite. My cousin is a baker at the Metropole Bakery here in Oregon, in Eugene, and they make the best pecan pie I've ever had, other than my mother's. My mother's first.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah, but Leanne ain't here.
She's listening.
I hope not.
Are they? I thought they were for a while there. You said they were listening every week, but they probably got sick of it.
Right, yeah, because this is me saying fuck and talking about my dick or something, and she's like, "Oh, Jerry." Just like every other listener, it's like, "Oh, dude."
Oh, Jerry. I'm just, yeah. There's all this. So we put in all this recovery, and I think a lot of it is everybody has different needs, and everybody has different requirements, and everybody has different parts of their recovery, right? You know, so if you need to go to 4 meetings a week, then go to 4 meetings a week. If you need to go to 6, if you need to go to 7, if you should be in at least 3 a day because you lost your fucking job because of alcohol, then go to 3 a day and figure it out.
Right? Yeah, figure it out. Yeah, exactly.
You know,
yeah, exactly. And I miss meetings a little bit, dude.
I know you'll get back to them once every.
I know you do your Zoom, but Zoom's not the same for me, which is funny because I really liked Zoom in the beginning. Then after a while, I was just like, "Yo, is that dude's living room or a background?" You know, like I'm more distracted by that shit. But then again, I'll go into a physical meeting and somebody will be mad and weird, and I'm like, "Oh, I gotta go pee now." You're being mad and weird, but not mad, appropriate mad, like just inappropriate. Anyway. Whatever.
I'm going to send you the link to the Sunday morning one that I go to that I think is really good. It's well organized. It's well managed. 9:30.
Oh, I can fuck with that.
So
I can do 7 for you, but you know.
But the amount of strength that it takes for somebody who has almost 13 years to have their disease go, yeah, we're going to drink. It's okay. We're going to convince you that it's okay. Because you can go back to recovery. It's cool. It's like the flip side where when we're trying to get, we're trying to convince ourselves to get into recovery. We're like, well, we can always go back to alcohol. It'll always be there. I've said that to myself a million times. Well, there's plenty. They're not going to stop making Tito's. I can go get as much as I want whenever I want right now. I could spend.
Celebrate.
I could empty my bank account and buy all the Tito's that would buy. Right. I could fucking stock this, but that's always going to be the case. It's never going to be, it's never going to not. So that's why I do what I do instead. So it's amazing to me that she had this moment of, that's okay, honey. You can go, you know what I mean? Like that pat on the back of like, go back to recovery and just like, so cunning, baffling, powerful. cunning, baffling, powerful. How is powerful? Baffling? Baffling? I don't know. It's been a while.
Dude, we are fucking awful at this.
Well, again, it's not. This is not. We are not here to promote the obviously
Yeah,
the program.
dude.
But I think about the strength that it takes to do this, and it's strength that I take for granted sometimes, and I'm grateful that I don't have to think about it every single day. I'm grateful that it's not like an hourly struggle anymore.
Okay.
But
Amen, Jesus.
but it still comes up.
But seriously,
And
it does. It does.
Somebody at work the other night had brought some olives, and they were these Castle Ventrano olives, which I really love. They're kind of rich and buttery. They're really good, but they were the pitted kind, which usually aren't that great. It's usually the ones that have the pits in them for whatever reason. I don't know what the process is. And he's like, "You want some olives?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess." And I had a few, and they were really sour. And I was like, "Oh fuck, is that white wine?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh man."
They put booze and everything in Napa. Good Lord, give it a rest.
So I don't think that it was, because I didn't catch a fever. I didn't feel hot. I didn't feel excited or anything like that. But it was just this like moment of decision about what I'm gonna have to fucking do next. Now, do I reset again? Like, I have to be.
Why would you reset if it was unintentional?
I don't think that I would.
I don't.
But
Yeah.
I don't think. But it's like, okay, now I need to double up my defenses about what I'm eating out in the fucking wild. You know.
Right. I smell everything though. Yeah. Anyway.
But it just reminded me of that moment of feeling those physical feelings of getting excited, getting hot, the same sort of reaction, the emotional attachment and reaction I get, and how I have to curb that. And so every time a craving comes through, even a small one for something silly, if I, a piece of chocolate or candy, it's like, okay, click. I know what that is. I know what it needs. It doesn't need that. And I can move through it. And I think a lot of that strength is not something necessarily that we're born with, but that we develop and we learn through the repetition and the routine of recovery.
Yeah.
Again, when I was drinking, I thought I was tough.
Yeah.
I thought I was so tough and so strong. And it wasn't until I started to try to do push-ups this summer that I realized how weak I was. And I'm kind of half joking, but I really did think I was strong because I could weather that Bukowski. I thought I was some Bukowski barrel-chested tough guy.
Yeah, perseverance. Yeah, strength of spirit, salt and grit.
Yes, all of the above. I didn't have any of that. We didn't have any of that. That was all.
Yo, dude. Yeah, dude. And we can't even fucking Bukowski, no salt and grit. Yeah, the guy could get in a bar fight and he had face like a fucking back road on a summer day. But good Lord, man. That guy get floored by hangovers for 4 days. Do you know what I mean? Like he'd have to lay in bed for 4 or 5 days of hangovers. You fart hard and Bukowski would throw up. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not strength, dude. That is a weak reed that has been bent. Not him as a person, but his will, I don't know, man. But you know what? If it's W for W.A.P, right? Like we alcoholics persevere. Like I think about that all the time and the hardships I have to go through. I know it's funny that we're saying I'm part Italian, so I'm allowed to say it. It's my word. But I just think of like those hardships I went through drinking. My wife and I have been going through. I've been going through some of my wife's old external hard drives of her photography and stuff, finding old paintings because I'm not doing commission paintings right now, and so I'm posting a lot of older stuff on my social media to keep people interested in my brand, right? Anyway, so I found some old I know it's awful, dude. I found some old videos of me in Seattle working on a painting, and I look like a fucking bruised tomato. Like I just look like a busted watermelon. Like I'm just bloated and red and hot and sweating. It's a winter day in Seattle, and I'm sweating through a shirt. I'm painting for an art show you gave me at the Balmar. Like, oh yeah, like. Yeah, dude, and I just look like shit, dude, and like that, I had to persevere and live through that every day, like feeling like shit like that. Like I don't feel like shit every day anymore. I feel kind of bad because I'm getting old and things hurt that didn't hurt before, and I had headaches and whatever, and there's Corona, and I get scared every day about COVID, you know, but like, I don't feel like shit like that anymore. Like, not like that, you know. I had to persevere through that. I had to get up every day and do that and still live life to the best of my ability. So if I could get through that, then what the fuck is 2020? You know?
Wait, so just to be clear, W.A.P was a reference to the Cardi B feminist anthem.
I know, wet ass pussy,
okay,
but we can't WAP.
WAP,
You know,
yes.
I know.
Right, okay.
We're gonna be clear. We're making a joke on wet ass pussy, yes. Which also is a wild ass fucking song. And it's not wild because women are being sexual. It's just that Cardi B is a whack fucking rapper, and so is Meg Thee Stallion. They're fucking whack. But
there's Jerry's No Nuance November right there.
But you know what, though? That being said, like, the song in of itself is very empowering, and I fucking back it up. You want to be horny, be a lady, be horny, be a lady. Goddamn, what women? It's so stupid to think that. Anyway, I'm not gonna go to my whole social aspect on it, but it's so dumb to think that women aren't allowed to express themselves like men are. Give me a fucking joke. And it's not masculine to express your sexuality. It's just human.
There you go. Hot take.
Welcome to the corner. It's like Mr. Rogers, but instead of me putting on a cardigan, I just put on a badass leather jacket and like push up my Ray-Bans. No, I pull down my Ray-Bans. I'm like, let me tell you something about society outside of alcoholism. Let me tell you about my outside issues.
Let me tell you about my outside issues with Jerry Wagner. That's
just me standing outside. Is that the other podcast in the no gluten on?
No, we could. That would be a good YouTube series. Outside issues, just you like standing outside with a leather jacket and some sunglasses.
Yeah, like what's his name? Dennis Leary. Just let me tell you something. Funny 10 steaks. I'm gonna be a fucking sexist. Yeah, Dennis Leary. That was funny in the 90s. Give it a rest.
Give
Everybody,
it a rest.
Settle down, motherfuckers. Yeah. But
so you were a wet tomato.
For a second I thought that I was a wet ass pomegranate. I was a wet ass pineapple. But I just had to persevere through all that, right? We persevered. Like, this person who wrote us this letter went through that rough patch. And it's really weird because they're going through like a physical, emotional rough patch, you know, with this breakup and probably all the stress surrounding everything that's been happening this year. And this conflict is internal. Like, this person projects everything going on in their lives, going through their lives, they're a little sad or whatever. But this internal conflict is like, just fucking drink and just get it over with so you can feel that relief, because drinking is the key that opens the lock. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, dude, you know it don't work. We all know it don't work. That's you just telling you some bullshit. And you know it too. That's why you didn't do it, you know? And when I hear that we're the God shot or whatever, it's if we're gonna talk higher powers and shit, I really feel like it's a higher power working, like just pushing, you know what I mean? Like putting the thing in that person's lap, in that person's lap that they needed. You know? I just say dumb shit. Like, here are my takes. I talk about Cardi B and Dennis Leary. Like, what do I got? You know, like, I'm a 45-year-old dude moving back in with his parents. You know, like, I'm killing it, you know.
Next on Outside Issues with Jerry Wagner Jr.
I'm 45. Gotta live with my mom and dad, brother-in-law, and sister. I ain't got no job. Gonna try to find a house, see what happens.
There's definitely gonna be some chores in the house, Jerry.
There are some chores in that house, and
so
oh God.
So when I think about, like, one of the things that kind of interests me is the idea of, so for 17 years roughly I drank, and there's the notion that when you start drinking alcoholically, your development is arrested at that period. So like I was 17 for 17 years roughly, something like that. Right now, there was some development because I was learning some things, but it was definitely fucking stunted. I mean, I did not know how to live like a grown man. And when I look around my house and I look at things and my behaviors, I'm not saying that I don't now, but there's certain things where I'm like, I'm going to be 44, and how am I supposed to be living? Which less and less I'm interested in, is about how I'm supposed to be living. But I want it to be good. I want to have proper place. I want to feel comfortable in my home. I want things to be in their place. I want to have all of my, orders and my affairs in order and all that kind of stuff. So I'm always looking at that. But like, what are some of the lessons that I took away from 17 years of drinking that I now can apply to my life?
What were they? I'm curious, actually. I guess maybe you were getting to that, and then I didn't.
Well, yeah. So I think, so there's a lot of things like we learn how to lie, and we learn how to hide, and we learn how to manipulate. And I think now, basically, I've learned to do the opposite of everything I was doing for 17 years. And when I think about stuff like when I feel like I'm in the midst of manipulating something, or I feel like I start to think like several moves ahead about, if I say this, how is this person going to perceive it? And then I'm like, well, slow down a second. You don't know what this other person's going to do or say. You can't control that. So just let it go. And so a lot of, and I wrote this down this morning in the meeting, and this is, I haven't got it all figured out, but basically I used to use shame and guilt a lot as a motivator. So I would stop something if I felt ashamed. Now, I wouldn't always learn from that, and I would just do the same shit again over and over and over and over and over because I was drinking. But at least for that day or maybe two, I would sit in the shame and the guilt, and I might try to like change my behavior, or at least change where I was doing that behavior, right? You kind of like, but that's again, there weren't a lot of lessons being learned. I would just be like, well, if I pissed off this friend, I'll just go drink with this friend until that other friend forgives me.
Yeah.
But one thing that I've learned in that whole process, and I wrote this just this morning, shame and guilt are so often used as a compass, and even in early sobriety, right? So we go like, oh, I feel shitty about myself. Maybe I should be doing more. I mean, maybe I'm not going to enough meetings. Maybe I should, for me, it's like, what is my exercise routine? What am I eating? And so like, there's a lot of shame and guilt and judgment on myself, right? So like a hand to a hot stove, we go like, ow, that hurts. Ow, that hurts. Don't do that. Don't do that. And I think, and I wrote, as we begin to use the tools we learn in our course correction comes from see, this is all fucked up, but basically the course correction goes from turning away from negative things to moving toward positive things. And I think that that's something that has taken me not only the 17 years of drinking, but the last 5 years of sobriety is not listening to the voices of negativity and not listening to the voices of shame, guilt, and judgment, but rather listening to the voices of good self-esteem and the voices of support and love and kindness and compassion and so on and so forth. And so I'm not always like fucking backing up into a cactus and going, oh, don't go that way, or you know what I mean? Or like burning my hand. So the lessons now are like, oh, if you want to have good self-esteem, do esteemable things. How do you pronounce that word?
Yeah.
Esteemable rather
Steamboat Willie.
Don't do shitty stuff so you won't feel bad. Because that was like a big lesson, was always repeated over and over and over, was you're a bad person, you do bad things. Oh, well, I don't want to think about that, so I'll drink.
Right. So, and then when you drink, you do bad shit because you're drunk. And
again, right? So
snake,
it never ends.
Snake eating its own ass, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. An ass-eating snake.
An ass-eating snake.
So, I mean, so the lessons really didn't come until that last shit. I don't know, last few months of drinking when it got so bad, the last 3 to 6 months where it was like, this is not working, but I don't know what. This is not working, but I don't know what to do. And then it just finally, the whole thing falls apart. The whole thing crumbles, mentally, emotionally, physically.
Right.
I still got the gout in sobriety. Like, I mean, I know this is not related, but these are all things like I had to learn.
You said the gout, right? Really? You don't have it anymore, though, right?
No. But because I was eating, like, I would just eat bags of salami and cheese.
I was thinking about you the other day, and I know you ate bags of salami and cheese and then drank Tito's, but I was thinking about you the other day on my run, and this is totally unrelated to this like deep moment we're having, but I remember you about a couple years ago, your doctor was like, you need to quit drinking so much coffee. Blood pressure's too high.
Mm-hmm.
And you weren't working out or doing any of that shit yet. And now you're working out all the time. And I imagine it's affected your blood pressure in a positive way. I imagine you can now drink coffee as much as you want because you're not fighting against all that weight on you to keep your heart beating, you know?
Yeah. Well, I do. So here's, to answer your question, I still have like 3 cups or whatever, maybe 4, depending on, but I don't
You're
drink
a liar. You got 6. You're fucking
well, whatever
lying.
I don't know. So that's I have like 3 or 4 of these.
16 ounces, that's 2 cups.
Well, then I have like 6 or 8 cups of coffee.
I'm fucking, but I was thinking about you the other day.
But when I went to go get my COVID test, in the back parking lot because they didn't want me in the fucking building.
Around back, yeah.
She was listening to my heartbeat, and she's like, your heartbeat is really big and slow, and that's great. That means your heart is strong. She's like, do you do a lot of cardio? And I said, yeah, I run a lot and I bike. And she said, that's fantastic. You should keep that up. And yeah, my blood pressure, I haven't had a problem since I started exercising, since I started walking and running.
But I remember this conversation with you. And the reason why I'm thinking about it is because you're at that bargaining point where you're like, how can I make this work? How can I continue living the way I'm living and still drink a fucking boatload of coffee? Like, I can't do both. Like, I need to quit one or the other. Do you know what I mean? So you're bargaining, like, how can maybe I can get stronger coffee so I drink less. Do you know what I'm saying? And then you just made the adjustment on one thing, and then you were able to do the other thing without too much of a negative, without more of a negative impact than, drinking caffeine already has, And it just, I was just thinking about you with that. And like, we still repeat these behaviors with other things in our life. The bargaining with the coffee, or me with the Cokes, dude, the Coke Zeros, right? Like, when I have like a 24 pack of Coke Zero on top of my fridge, I feel the same relief I used to feel when I'd get a bottle of bourbon, like a handle, and be like, I got enough for like 3 days. Boom. Now we got budget out. I got enough for 3 days, Like, same with the Coke Zero. I don't drink 24 Cokes in 3 days, though. That's a lot. But I'll drink like 3 cans a day. That's a lot of soda. You know what I mean? But I'll do a little differently, I guess. But it's that same thing with the substance, that dopamine hit. The addict in your brain is like, well, we're just going to attach to this new thing, It's really weird. That must be a physical, like, lesson learned from alcoholism.
Yeah. One thing too that occurs to me is that when we were drinking, you and I, we were no stranger to self-inflicted pain.
Oh, God, no.
So
that's
not only whether it be, the drinking and the hangovers and the falling down and the falling off stools and the fighting with people. I didn't get into too many fist fights. I did
that in my late teens. Yeah.
But I found that the fact that I had a higher tolerance for pain, because I know other people who do not have any tolerance for pain, and there's no judgment on that. Like, that's just, they grew up avoiding it and finding ways to deal without it. And thankfully, right, we should try to, but I feel like having a higher tolerance of pain and being the one that has inflicted upon myself, that I have found that helpful and useful when I am pushing myself to go running, right? When I am like saying, ow, this hurts. Well, you should just stop and go home. And it's like, well, let's just work through this. Maybe this doesn't hurt. Maybe I don't feel this pain, because this is the same person who would be flushed, unable to breathe, overweight, like red in the face, not getting drunk, still drinking on this bottle of vodka. I remember it was a Kettle One, and I couldn't get drunk. And I thought, and I've told you this, I'll just drink through it. I'm having an allergic reaction to the alcohol, but I'll just drink through it.
I'll drink it. I won't think about it. Like, I won't feel it. It'll still be happening, but I won't be feeling it. Yeah. Or I won't care. I won't care.
So I think that's an interesting one for me. That's like, oh, okay. So I can deal with a little more pain in my life. I've grown up that way. I've learned to deal with that. I've done it to myself.
Mhm.
And so I can utilize that higher tolerance of pain to push myself a little bit further.
Right.
Um, you know. So I think the strength comes from a lot of different places for a lot of different reasons. I'm another thing that I wrote about was dealing with this last year and anxiety and the stress and feeling sad and the multiple fires and subsequent smoke that's been in the air.
Mhm.
That has forced me indoors. The multiple injuries, including the one that I'm dealing with right now, and the ankle, where I was like, I feel pretty good. I should go out. And I'm like, John, and I kind of like walked around. I was like, you're not ready yet. Like,
Mhm.
just give it a few more days, and then it'll be fine, and this will pass. Then I hurt my back in August, and so there's all been these little things. And so to compensate, I've been eating different stuff. Like I cut out nuts now. I mean, so I literally am having a no nut November. Um,
Yeah.
but like
Fuck.
that was my I know I'm
Uh,
just full of them today.
you
But
got
I was
it. You're full
I
of
would sit
nuts.
and I would eat peanuts and fucking raisins and by the handful, and I would just feeling bad and like I just wanted, and like all this is where all the weight has been gained, and it's not that much, but it's enough, and I notice it. Probably nobody else does, but I
Right.
notice it.
But you notice enough that you're uncomfortable with it. Yeah.
Hmm. So
And it's tiny things, but you live with it because it's your body. Yeah.
so when I think about that stuff, like the fitness, when I think about the alcohol recovery, when I think about the fitness, when I think about like the food stuff, the two things that I've learned are one, cut the shit, and two, do the work. And
Yeah.
so
You have a
now I just
sponsor tell you that?
no, I just
That sounds like sponsor talk.
well, then that let me say that to anybody out there who has any questions about what they can or cannot or not able to do. Cut the shit and do the work. But because I would hear myself say this, well, but I just
Mhm.
need to cut the shit. But I, and so it's like, okay, you know how you gain that weight, John, and you just had it down. Like I saw pictures of myself in April. So
Mhm.
so it's not that far away and you know how to do it and you can do it again.
Mhm.
So do you want to feel sorry for yourself and feel like you're stuck back somewhere because you're not, right? So this is
Right.
just me trying to sponsor myself into convincing
Right.
myself about, just cut the shit and do the work, Jerry. That's that's
Shit and do the work. Yeah, exactly. That's all I've been doing, man.
Mm.
Cut shit and doing work, man.
Do you feel like there are any internal reservoirs you've developed over the years that you had to pull from in early sobriety? I mean, I know we talk a lot about getting help from outside, right? Obviously, we can't do it
Right.
by
Hmm.
ourselves, but were there
I
things like,
feel less entitled now.
hmm
I don't know if I pulled that from early sobriety though, because I felt really entitled in early sobriety. I just always felt entitled. I've been a pretty entitled person, I think, as far as like my attitude towards things. And it's really weird, man, because it also mixes with my shitty self-esteem. So I'm like, you deserve this. But then my shitty self-esteem is like, you don't deserve shit. It's a strange conflict, but I feel like less entitled. But from early recovery or just even from active alcoholism, I've learned how to be really resourceful with money. This
hmm
pandemic, like everybody was like, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you ask for this grant, that grant? And I'm like, no, man. It's been like little tiny windfalls here and there and just scrambling quickly to be resourceful and try to, do you know what I mean? Get on programs, government programs, sell paintings, sell things left and right, like just try to make things work out. Sell digital. You want a digital print? Fine, I'll try it, just
hmm
trying to not starve to death, and I learned that from drinking because I was like, well, Coda's got mac and cheese. John's got tuna. I've got frozen vegetables. We can all make a dinner. We can all eat a little bit and then save
hmm
enough for beer and, use the leftover money for beer.
Yeah.
Or just like, hey, eWeb's due here, you know, the power's due here, you know, the cable, or I didn't even have cable, just power and rent are due. Okay, well, maybe I can borrow a little bit from here to move that over there, and then borrow somebody from this from them, and then borrow, you know what I mean? Like, I just learned how to scramble like that. It's fucking sad that I got to still do it in my 40s, right? I mean, we're like Gen Xers. The dream they told us, those fucking baby boomers told us, was that we'd own a house and have a family by now and have our shit together. And then they're like, oh, by the way, we're gonna. Oh, I'm not getting into that, but you know, like I know I keep mentioning my age, like, oh, I'm this age and I'm supposed to have shit done by now because the timeline we were raised with. We were raised on a timeline, you know.
Yeah, there were expectations that were laid out, and
Right. But I think I've learned, yeah, I've learned how to be resourceful and acceptance. I've learned in recovery though is acceptance. Like, hey, if this doesn't happen, nothing's really changed. You know, like getting money. You know, speaking to someone and they're like, hey, we'll pay you for this painting. You know, we'll put down a deposit, and then I never hear from them again. Like, it doesn't. I'm not upset about that. I wasn't expecting that to happen. You know, money I never had is money I never had. So if it doesn't show up, well, what's the difference? Nothing's changed. If it shows up, wow, pleasant surprise. If it doesn't show up, oh well, I wasn't depending on it anyway.
Yeah.
Acceptance, and yeah.
I think too, like finding, and this is not every alcoholic, but you know, you and I had routines around drinking.
Oh yeah.
And then the bottom falls out and the shipwrecks, and we find ourselves on the shore, like, you know, soaked, one shoe on, fucking coughing up seaweed. And when we get sober, we're like, I don't know what to do, and there's nothing, and everything seems chaotic and free falling and all this stuff. And I think that return to routine, whether it be through meetings, whether it be through readings or studying, and then, you know, waking up at a certain time and having your coffee and whatever else you do, whether it be feeding your animals and, you know, taking care of stuff, is like something that I know that I intrinsically needed both while drinking and now for sure, is this sense of routine and getting certain things done in a day that if I don't, they will nag me until I get them done.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I know that you talk about routine a lot too in your life and how it's, I mean,
I love it. Is that weird that I love it? I still want to be spontaneous and do that. I used to fucking hate spontaneity, and now I think it's just being locked in this house. I'm like, I'm down to be a little spontaneous because like people would come in and be like, we just spontaneously wanted a tattoo, and I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. Like, it would make me so mad. Spontaneity. Even my wife would be like, let's spontaneously do this, and I'd be like, no, but that's all wrong. And because I loved routine so much, I still love it. Like, I love working in a box and having rules, but I also hate it. It depends on what aspect of my life it's in. If I'm making art, don't tell me there's rules. That shit pisses me off. That's why tattooing didn't fit with me for 20 fucking years, because there's always rules, you know, and I just was like, fuck your rules. But I like rules of like, hey, you get up, you make coffee, you watch the news, you wake the kid up, you feed the kid, you get ready for school. You know what I mean? Like, those stay within a line. Like, I love that shit. Feed the animals, make yourself breakfast, make your wife breakfast, you know, and then you can start your day, you know. Oh, work out. Ooh.
Yeah, man.
Go lift weights, you know, or running.
I just think it's extraordinarily helpful, because especially this year, and with the amount of just the uncertainty. And then, you know, there's this thing that happens, and we're in the midst of this sort of, we don't know when all of this is going to end pandemic wise. And then they say, well, vaccines are working. And then so people get excited and they're like, well, the end is near. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not ready to feel that way, because I don't want the rug to be pulled out from underneath me again.
Yeah, exactly. And then you find out the vaccines make you fucking grow a horn or something. Is that what you mean?
No, I mean, I don't have
necessarily, but you know what I mean.
I don't have a problem with it. I'm fine to get it when it comes my way. You know, somebody was like, you gonna be the first one to get it, John? And I was like, one, I don't think that I'm first in line, bro.
No, waiter at a fucking bar in Sonoma. No, Walter,
No,
I'm not.
no. But they were like, "You're gonna get it," and I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, 100%." Like this is, if anything, this has opened up my eyes to like how important public health is.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Um, and so, what was I saying? Just that the important thing is to not get caught up in like thinking this is going to end, because then it's just this psychological mind fuck. They've done studies with runners where people can run for like 50 or even 100 miles. These runners can go, and if they know that the end is coming, they can give it their
Yeah.
all, and they can go and they can go and they can go. But as soon as they are told there's no, like, there's been some races where there's no stopping time, they don't get to know how long they have to go. They
Yeah.
mentally are unable to perform at the level at which they were even before running 50 or 100 miles when
I
they
did
know
not
there's an
know
end.
that.
So, and there's a
I
term that
thought there would be the. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
I am blanking on right now, but it's just this idea of not knowing where the finish line is. And so how do you continue to train for a race with no finish line? Well,
Right.
I would say that we as alcoholics do it every single day, right?
Boom.
So
Yeah.
we do it every
Absolutely.
single day. There's no graduation point, there's no finish line for sobriety.
Right.
So I check in, I make sure everything's all right. I see what I got to do today. I do my routines, whether that be around sobriety or my other affairs. And then I go, okay, we're going to just take it one fucking day at a time.
Mhm.
So I think this is important in this time of uncertainty and not knowing when the pandemic is going to be over, and not knowing anything. I mean, if anything, this whole year has taught us that. It's taught me that. Um, and
Yeah.
so again, practice these principles in all our affairs, right? This includes our thought
Right.
process behind everything in life, not just do I drink, or do I not. Um, so that's something that that really struck home with me, was this idea of like, what am I training for? Well, I don't have a race because all the races are gone, so I just let everything fucking fall apart. And of course, I didn't let everything fall apart. And of course, I didn't really know, like everybody else, what the hell was going on in March and April. And I literally thought everything was covered in fucking virus.
Right.
So, right,
I
I
also
no,
thought in March and April, I thought, dude, this was going to be a month. This is nothing. Remember when the Ebola happened, or SARS, or fucking bird
vaguely,
flu, and we were all like,
yeah,
vaguely, right? And then, like, we didn't even have lockdowns. It just ended. Like, my mom and dad got fucking swine flu. If there's a fucking disease, my parents catch it. I have no idea why. But they had like the bird flu, the swine flu, and those things, they were running, but then they got shut down. So I was under the impression that it was just going to end really quickly. We had a month, maybe. Yeah. But you know what? You brought up a point about like training. What am I training for if there's no race to run? And I always think about it like meditation too, right? Like the desired effect of meditation is that you're meditating. Just like the desired effect of your training is the love of training, is that you're training. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, what am I running for? I mean, there's a goal, but it's not an attainable goal anytime soon. I want to do like a 3 miles in 30 minutes. I want to get my pace to 10-minute miles, right? That's not a hard goal to attain. But, is that the ultimate goal at the end? No. The goal is that I'm running and I feel good running. It feels good to
mm-hmm.
stretch, to move that muscle. Just like working recovery will be hard and it'll suck, but for me, working recovery should feel good to be in recovery. And it does feel good to be in recovery right now. Right now it does. Talk to me tomorrow. Shit.
Right.
Fucking life. Life does that. Just like with our fucking email writer. Like they went through a hard breakup that apparently sounds like a lot of really mean, hurtful things were said, and things were going up good until a certain point when it wasn't going good. We got to rely on the tools we have. And if the tool is a god shot from two fucking nerds doing a podcast, well, then I guess, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like it comes in the weirdest forms.
Yeah,
We
that's
really are nerds. We were like grown ass nerds. We were like nerd alcoholics. That's
nerd
even a
alcoholics.
weirder niche. Even a weirder niche. Like we weren't even cool alcoholics. We were fucking nerds.
Yeah, I was not.
Girls didn't talk to us. Well, I don't want to say us. Girls talked to Coda because Coda looked like a
Mhm.
Calvin Klein model. And girls talked to you because you were a cool bartender of
Well, I was a
Ballard.
bartender. That's
And
the
I
only
had a
time.
wife.
And then
was talking to me. Wife
right.
was always in the way.
But that was the only. That's when I thought I was cool. But
Yeah.
but I wasn't. But that's when I thought I was. That's when I had.
You were.
That's when I had a moderate amount of clout with the people that came into the bar and the 5 bars around me. Those were
Right. You had
so like
no clout in 1 block radius. You were killing it, dude.
I had clout with maybe a half a dozen bartenders, but that's only because I came with me was my money and a bunch of other people's money.
Right,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Right. Like you go fucking 3 blocks up to the fucking wing hut or whatever, and they're just like, who's this sloppy fucking get the fuck out of here.
Exactly. Yeah, they were not interested. But so yes, there was a moderate amount of clout there. But I think too, I learned from that like, I mean, what's important? Those things, that idea of being popular or being the fucking center of attention really wasn't that important at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better. I feel better. I feel more. I feel far more fulfilled getting an email like that and knowing that something I threw out there was able to help somebody else. Like that feels a lot better than
that's I think what shook me when you said it to me. I think that's what made me hot in the eyes is I was like, fuck, I helped someone. I think I helped someone. And then I told Megan, like, dude, I think I helped somebody. And she's like, of course you did. You help people all the time. And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I think I helped. This is weird. Like, it's a really weird feeling, John. So thank you, Katie, right? If I'm getting your name right.
Thank you.
I can't believe I'm gonna say thank you, be sincere, and then fuck your name up. That's how I'm gonna roll. But
I think this is because, Jerry, let me be the first to say that what you do is an estimable act. You know? Even if I have to drag it out of you some weeks.
It feels weird, man. Not even the podcast, just doing shit that affects people in a positive way every once in a while is super weird to me. I'm not used to that. Even now, I'm not used to it. But whatever. I mean, not whatever. Whatever in a good way. A good way. Yeah. So, what do we learn? What is it? Something wet ass alcoholics. We alcoholics persevere.
We alcoholics persevere.
We alcoholics pee our beds.
Yes, we do. We do pee our beds.
Yeah, we do.
I've peed my bed. I've peed the couch. I've peed my pants.
You peed on your girlfriend once.
Yes, I peed in the car.
Throw that out.
I peed all over Steven Schwab's Saturn one time. That's how long ago this was. Well, I wasn't drunk, but I was trying to we were driving on the one highway on the California coast highway, and there's nowhere to pull over, and I really had to go, and I had to try to pee in this bottle, and I don't suggest it. If you do have to, get something with a wide mouth. It gives you a little more room to move. So yes, but we alcoholics persevere.
First of all, I want to clarify something. I think I may have mistaken you for someone else in that earlier comment. I think somebody else peed on a sleeping girlfriend. Somebody had a girlfriend who was sleeping, and they were trying to pee in the drawer and ended up peeing on the sleeping girlfriend. And I just want to clear it up. I don't think that was John. I think I mistook you for somebody else.
That's okay.
No,
that's okay. And here's
I just
the thing,
don't want that out there. Well, John would be peeing on his girlfriends. Dude, don't listen to this podcast.
So no, but I did share a bed with a woman, and this is many years ago, and I did get up to pee, and I didn't. She was on the other side of the bed, but she woke up as soon as I started pissing on the mat.
I remember that story, but this is
I heard not me.
Another story from another alcoholic. Drunk. Well, another person I was drinking with. I can't label them an alcoholic, but yeah.
No.
So I peed all over myself getting pushed from the hedge, and they threw a snake on me. So that's a whole thing.
We alcoholics.
Dead snake.
So, but to bring it back,
It's the last 4 minutes of the podcast. Sorry, I know you're trying to button it up, but I'm just saying
it's
these
okay.
people are
You're
having a
right.
spiritual moment. In the last 4 minutes of the podcast, we're going to give them this. We're going to serve them up a little bit of soup, you know?
Listen, I have plenty of public urination stories to last the rest of my life.
You get those stories with the Patreon account, by
You
the
know,
way.
right? Should we do one of those? So I think mostly my public urination stories now are in the woods while I'm out on a trail run and I'm like, 5 miles in and I got 5 miles to go and I'm like, I gotta go.
Long time.
I'm looking both ways in my little satin shorts and I kind of just lift them up and I go real quick and then I get back on the trail.
Your satin running shorts in the fucking Sonoma, dude. Don't ever get lost in that shit. They just have you on the news with the fucking moon blanket, your tiny little satin shorts, like your neck gaiter, like you're on Survivor. I love it.
Naked and Afraid.
Naked and Afraid in the Sonoma edition.
So I think the best thing that I have learned, and honestly, even most recently, is cut the shit, do the work, one day at a time. And that goes for everything in my life. Is not just alcohol, but coronavirus, the political climate, the work that I do, this podcast, all of it is literally one day at a time because there's no fucking finish line. The finish line is death. And
that's just...
right.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That's kind of a shitty finish line.
But Jerry, even if is death even the finish line? If I am just the universe experiencing itself through this particular avatar, doesn't that consciousness and float off into something else? I mean, I don't know.
Who knows? No, that's a whole different podcast, dude.
So I think
that TikTok, man.
Do I?
Weird metaphysical TikTok, yeah. They're like, welcome to political TikTok. Welcome to cheese TikTok. Welcome to metaphysical TikTok.
I'm on all of the. Oh, I'm on potato TikTok.
I know you are. Oh. I know you are. Potato TikTok. Always comes back to that vodka one way or another, dude.
Right? You know? Exactly. So I would just say that if you're having trouble, find the strength to persevere.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If you don't have it within you, that's okay. You'll find it, or ask somebody for help.
That doesn't hurt. That's very helpful.
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.